my little minions, it is I, Dr. GriGri, the wizard of the weird and sorcerer of the scary, coming at you from the domain, the land between your world of the living and my world of the undead. In this episode, I am going to bring you another low-budget independent filmmaker from the Albany, New York region. His name is Jeff Kirkendall. Jeff has been making low-budget movies for several years and pretty much does it all. He acts, writes, directs, produces, edits, bakes, sews, crochets, and washes the dishes. He's a very domesticated filmmaker, ladies. Without further ado, let me conjure up via the cauldron, Jeff Kirkendall. Hookadooka-doo, hookadooka-poo. Hello, Jeff. Welcome, and thank you for coming to the domain.
Thank you for having me.
How are you doing this evening?
Doing really well, thanks.
Okay, let me get right to the questions. What was the first film you ever made?
The first movie I ever made was a horror movie called Terror of the Master. It was a feature about two sisters, and one of the sisters was kidnapped by a vampire and a gang of criminals, and her sister came to rescue her, and that was back in the mid-90s.
Who starred in that one?
It starred some actresses from upstate New York. The lead actress, her name is Madeley Weissman, and her co-star was Jennifer Byrne, an actress who's been in a lot of my movies since then.
How many movies have you made over the years?
I've written and directed 6 movies, 2 features and 4 shorter movies. And then I've also done a lot of editing work on movies by other filmmakers. I've had associate producer and editor credits on several features from other filmmakers.
Can you tell me a little about each of the movies you have done?
Okay, I did some short films back in the 90s. The first short film I did was called Night Therapy. It's a movie about 3 patients who come to visit a therapist at his home at night, and they talk about their encounters with a disembodied head.
How much did he charge per session?
He didn't charge anything as far as we know from the movie, but it was kind of a psychological type of a movie. It wasn't really about the money, it was about messing with their heads.
Did he shrink their heads?
No, he didn't shrink their heads, but he did get them to tell about their experiences talking to the disembodied head of a man who committed suicide.
Was this based on a true life experience you had?
No, I've never had an experience like that, thank goodness.
Next.
Okay, the next movie I did was another short movie called The Green-Eyed Monster. It was about a girl who is home alone one night, Halloween night, and she is contacted by a mysterious evil entity over a dead channel on the radio. And the title refers to jealousy, and she's a very jealous girl. She thinks that her boyfriend is cheating on her. And by the end of the movie, the evil entity has somewhat convinced her that this is true, and nasty things happen as a result.
Is she single?
Yes, she's single, yes.
Do you have her number?
No, I don't have her number anymore, unfortunately.
Tell us about some of your other movies.
The next one was called 3 to Murder. It was a 40-minute movie that was a prequel to another movie that I did after that called The Temptress. In 3 to Murder, it was about 3 upstate New York suburban women who are set upon by a criminal gang, and there is a horror twist at the end of the movie.
Jeff, wait a second. These guys, 3 guys, they have 3 women in their neighborhood, 3 single women, and they decide to rob them? Jeff, where are these guys' priorities? You don't rob 3 beautiful women who just moved into the neighborhood. You go over to their house with a bottle of rum. The cheap stuff. Save the good stuff for yourself. Besides, it gets them drunk faster. You knock on their door, and when they answer, you say, "Hey, baby, I heard you just moved into the neighborhood. Oh my, I didn't know 3 angels were missing from heaven." And then, if they haven't called the police, they will invite you in, and you let your mojo do the rest. It's either that or you tranquilize them and drag them to your hut.
And it leads into a feature I did called The Temptress, which is a feature-length vampire movie which brings back several of the characters from Three to Murder. This group of suburban women battle an evil vampire cult in The Temptress.
Next.
The next movie, my sixth movie that I did after The Temptress, was a comedy, gasp, gasp, called Of Theater and Bikinis, about a girl from a small town who believes that a famous Hollywood filmmaker is coming to visit her town, and she goes to great lengths to meet her. Her and her friend go on this crazy quest to meet this director.
What's the title again?
Of Theater and Bikinis.
Theater and what?
Of Theater and Bikinis.
What?
Bikinis. A very popular title, probably.
Oh my goodness. That is one of the best titles I have ever heard. Okay. One more time. Theater and what? Oh no.
Ahem. Dr. GriGri,
Yes, Professor Suture?
do I hear you laughing during an interview?
No, I was just...
Doctor,
Yes, I was.
now is that a professional way of holding an interview?
But the title of his movie is Of Theater and...
Doctor,
No, Professor Suture. It is not a professional way of holding an interview.
exactly. I think I need to continue this interview with some sort of professionalism.
You are so beautiful.
Why, thank you.
I love how your scars accentuate your cheekbones.
Oh, well, I did graft these cheekbones on myself.
I could tell. Such artistry, such beauty, such...
Hey, wait a minute. You're just trying to keep me from doing the interview.
Yep.
Well, it's not going to work. I'm not one of those brainless zombie bimbos you dig up and drag back to your hut.
Don't worry, girls. She didn't mean that.
Hello, Jeffrey. How long did it take you to make your shorts?
The short movies we did, I'd say roughly, most of them were done in a period of about 3 months each. It varied a little bit. For example, Night Therapy was probably done within a month's time because that was just a couple shoots and then some pickup shots. Three to Murder and The Green-Eyed Monster, I'm going to say over the course of a few months. It might be a little bit less than that, but around that time.
What did you use to shoot with?
A blowgun? What? That's what I shoot things with. Like dinner.
I shot the first movie, Terror of the Master, with some borrowed equipment. And then for Night Therapy and The Green-Eyed Monster and Three to Murder, I used some equipment borrowed from my producer, Tim Hatch. We used an old 8mm video camera for those movies. And then for The Temptress and Of Theater and Bikinis...
Of what?
Of Theater and Bikinis. We used digital camera, Sony TRV 900 digital camera. And that was the first camera I actually owned. So I shot 4 movies with borrowed equipment before I even owned a camera.
What did you use to edit your shorts with?
Originally, we edited using very basic equipment. It was kind of transferring from one tape to another. And then when I got into computer-based editing, I started using Adobe Premiere. And I've actually been using Premiere to remaster some of my old short films. So I use Premiere exclusively right now.
What do you have in store for your next project?
My next project is a short film about a killer clown. A man escapes from a psychiatric institute and steals a clown costume. He murders this other gentleman and steals a clown costume and makeup, and then goes on a killing spree, and he is terrorizing a young woman who lives in the suburbs.
What do you like most about the filmmaking process?
I enjoy all different aspects of the filmmaking process. I'm very excited when I'm doing a shoot. I like working with actors, and then I also have become pretty proficient at post-production, so it's kind of nice when you have all the footage in the can, so to speak.
He said in the can.
And you can sit and play with it using Adobe Premiere or whatever you use to edit. So I like both of those aspects. And of course the beginning writing, when I get a really interesting idea, it's very satisfying when it comes together into a full feature script or short film script or whatever.
Do you write all of your films?
So far to date, I've written all my movies. I've written all 6 movies that I've done. The one I'm planning on shooting, Die Laughing, the killer clown movie, was based on an idea by a filmmaker named Joe Bignardi, and I took his idea and wrote the script from that. So I have written all my own scripts now, and this will be another script I've written.
What inspired you to write and make movies in the horror genre?
I've always been a big fan of movies in general, and I got into horror movies when I was a teenager. I became really fascinated with horror movies. I think horror movies they can be very exciting, kind of an adrenaline rush, and dramatic as well. And so when I set out to do my own movies, I decided to go with a genre that I really liked a lot, which was the horror genre.
Excuse me?
Yes.
Can I ask me guest a question? This is me show, by the way.
Go ahead.
Who does the makeup for your movies?
I've done some of my own makeup, and my production partner James Kroll has done a lot of makeup. He did some makeup in The Temptress and some of the other movies. We've pretty much kept it in-house so far, though.
What movies have you acted in?
Let's see, one of my first movies was a vampire feature called Shadow Tracker Vampire Hunter. I played a vampire that attacks the hero in a graveyard. It was a bit part, no pun intended. And then following that, I did appearances in most of my own movies, and I've also acted in some features. I was in a feature called The Edge of Reality, which was a horror film anthology directed by Joe Bignardi. I played a zombie in a movie called London After Midnight from filmmaker Bruce Hallenbeck. Then I was in another film with Bruce, another film that Bruce directed called The Drowned, and I played another zombie ghost type character. And then the last movie I believe that I was in was a crime drama called Corruption from a filmmaker from Schenectady, New York named Chris Bishop.
How are those experiences?
Well, they were all different and all good. I like working with Bruce and Joe. They're filmmakers I work with a lot, so we have a lot of fun on the set. And other filmmakers that I haven't worked with as much, the experiences were different, but still good. Chris Bishop was a real professional on the set of Corruption, a really dedicated filmmaker, and I played a cop in that movie, and it was a pretty laid-back set. Although he's very dedicated. It was good, very good.
What was your favorite role?
Let's see. I think I have a couple favorite roles.
Kaiser, Hard, or Snowflake? I like buns. Wink, wink.
I like my character in The Drowned. He's this ghostly priest-type character, and that was interesting because I got to go into the water for that movie. My character comes out of the lake, and I'm fully dressed as a preacher, and I have this little romantic thing with the lead actress in the lake. We kind of go around and around in the lake. That was kind of a fun thing. And then another movie I liked was a short film I did. It was a historical piece called Hamilton and Burr, The Duel of the Century, which has never been released. It was shot by a filmmaker from Schenectady named Ed Henderson, who unfortunately passed away, and the film was never released. It was an ensemble cast. My production partner James Kroll was in it, and it was about the famous duel from history, and I was one of Burr's group. I played a character named Van Ness, and that was a really fun shoot. It was an all-day shoot and a lot of dramatic dialogue, and it was a good shoot.
Are there any filmmakers that inspire you, either local or mainstream?
Well, I think There are a lot of talented filmmakers in the capital region. I like the work of other people. I think, just to throw out some names, I like some of Jeff Burns' movies. He's a local filmmaker who does a lot of short films, a lot of relationship movies, boy meets girl type movies. Another filmmaker, Mike Caslow, horror filmmaker, did a movie called Bloodlust, which I think had a lot of good things in it. And of course I mentioned Bruce Hallenbach and Joe Bignardi. They of course I work with, and they're fun guys to work with, and they do a lot of interesting things. And then I like, of course, a lot of Hollywood filmmakers. I like some of the guys from back in the 60s and 70s. Wes Craven's probably my favorite filmmaker. His movie Nightmare on Elm Street was the film that really got me into the horror genre. I like George Romero, the zombie movies, and John Carpenter is another one. I like the films of Dario Argento quite a bit. He's an Italian filmmaker who makes really intense, surrealistic stuff, and I think his stuff deserves more of an audience here in the United States. I think he's very good.
Jeff, do you remember the time we went to the Dominican Republic to that one bar, and there was a jerk chicken eating contest, and you and I entered, but the local chupacabra ate all of the chickens before they could be cooked, and then we got drunk off of spiced rum, and then the Cyclops sisters got mad at us because we forgot where we parked our bus. But then we remembered we walked there, and then we woke up on the back of somebody's donkey. You want to do that? Again?
No, I'm good, I think.
But I was told it was a lot of fun.
Jeffrey, if there is a person, living or undead, you'd like to meet, who would it be?
Living or undead? Wow, that's a good one. Well, I'd probably like to meet Elvis Presley. He was the king, after all, one of the greatest entertainers of all time. So I think it would be interesting to have a chat with him.
What do you like on top of your pizzas?
I like extra cheese. That's my favorite thing. I like mushrooms too. Extra cheese is my favorite though.
I like jerk chicken lips with anchovy toes on mine.
Who is your hero?
Let's see. Well, in terms of filmmaking, I think my favorite filmmaker is Wes Craven. I really like his stuff a lot. He's a really cool guy who's made a lot of great movies, and he's a real hip character. He's a former college professor, and I really admire that. He was a guy who was a college professor, and the story goes that he gave it all up, gave a safe job up to go into filmmaking. He started at the bottom as an editor. In fact, what I read, he was driving cabs for a while before he was able to get anywhere into the film industry, but he gave up a safe profession as a college professor to take a chance on becoming a filmmaker, and the rest is history.
What is your favorite candy?
I like a lot of different candies. I have a sweet tooth. I like chocolate in general. I've been eating Dove chocolate bars lately, so I'll give them the nod and say that's my favorite candy right now.
Would you like to have your head shrunk?
No thank you, but I appreciate the offer.
What site can my viewers, our viewers, go to purchase your movies?
We have 2 movies available, The Temptress and The Edge of Reality, and they're both available for sale on DVD at a website called filmbaby.com. And that disc has a lot of extra things on it. Besides the Temptress feature, it's got the short film 3 to Murder, which was a prequel to The Temptress. And also an anthology movie called The Edge of Reality, directed by Joe Bignardi, is on filmbaby.com for sale too.
Jeffrey, what is your website again?
The web address is www.veryscaryproductions.com.
All right, Jeffrey, that about wraps things up here. Thank you for coming to the Domain this evening.
Well, thank you for having me. It was an interesting experience, and I enjoyed talking to you.
And thank you, Professor Suture, for visiting this one time.
Thank you, Doctor, for having me. It was a pleasure, as always.
Yes, I know. It always is my curvaceous lumpkin.
You did make me this way.
I do use the finest parts.
And these parts are fine.
Oh me, oh my. Well then, that about does it, me little minions. Thank you for joining me here in the Domain. Come back soon to see who I will conjure up for you. And don't forget to visit Jeff Kirkendall's website and read all about his past, present, and future projects. just go to www.veryscaryproductions.com. Goodbye.